There was a theory instituted by the British in India. You're well aware of it because as soon as I say the word British and theory, the first thing that comes to mind is the two-nation theory. That there are Hindus and there are Muslims in this land of Bharat, and they are two separate countries. They are two nations, and never shall the twain meet. They use this as a policy because as soon as I say the word policy, the first thing that comes to your mind is divide and rule. And indeed, in 1905, with the division of Bengal under Curzon, they enacted that policy. The policy became so ruthless that indeed, out of Bengal, they managed to create two nations. Now, after independence, for the past 80 years, we have had an opportunity that despite the partition which the British created and oversaw, who are we? Were they right? Or were they so fundamentally wrong and they duped us so badly that we became malicious believers of their own malevolence? Now, I can tell you that I have lived in the national capital, New Delhi, all my life. The reason I live in New Delhi is because my grandfather was from Sargodha in what is now modern day Pakistan. Ironically, it's a major airbase of the Pakistani Air Force now. And from Sargodha, the families of the refugees came to major centers, Delhi being the primary one of them. So I've been born here, brought up here, done all my schooling here. Now, as an adult, as an editor of a news channel, I'm told about the global conversations of how India, in its current form and epithet, is out to purge everything that is Islamic, is out to commit a genocide of Muslims. And this is what we are being told about ourselves, that you are still two nations, you are just waiting to have a go, and there is some sort of Hindu supremacy which is taking place. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me anecdotally tell you that if I were to step out this evening, I would potentially go to a very happening spot in Delhi these days in the environs of the Qutub Minar. Okay? And I would see it lit up. Now, I know for a fact that 24 Hindu and Jain temples were demolished to create the Qutub Minar. It was a tower of victory. But there's nobody ripping it apart, nobody tearing it down. It's just a recognition of the fact that yes, indeed, and I had a long telecast about this just a week ago, yes, indeed, the temples were demolished, out of which this Tower of Victory was built, begun by Qutbuddin Aibak, completed 100 years later, in the period that is pre-Mughal in the Delhi Sultanate. Now, that's where you would have dinner. In the morning, you would go for a walk at the Lodi Gardens. The Lodi Gardens, perhaps the most lavished public park in the heart of VIP Delhi, where every tuft of grass is lovingly manicured at great expense, and all the monuments beautifully preserved and accessible to the public, photo shoots of your creators and influencers happening there every morning. You would now go to the recently redeveloped site of the Humayun's tomb. And the Humayun's tomb, as you can probably easily tell from the images before you, and these are before and after images showing you how it's been redeveloped, was the design precursor for the Taj Mahal. You would go to see the beautifully lit up Safdarjung's tomb in the evening. The Prime Minister of the country on August 15th, every year, non-stop, makes his address from the Red Fort. I can go beyond in Agra, I don't even need to mention the Taj, talk about Fatehpur Sikri, talk about the Agra Fort. Lovingly cared for places of great importance in tourism in this country and treated as such. Ladies and gentlemen, Islam in India goes back to near the founding of Islam. The first mosque, the Cheraman Jama Masjid, was built in 629. That's 1500 years ago. You would go today to Ajmer Sharif, you would go today to Hazrat Nizamuddin, to the Dargah, you would go to the Jama Masjid in Delhi. These are not places of dispute, of debate, places under duress. Yes, further measures for upkeep and beautification and maintenance all need to be done everywhere. But these are treasured places for everyone. Now, there was a problem, and let's not kid ourselves, there was a problem. There was a problem on a specific site in Ayodhya. This small plot of land, as there is a very, very tiny site in Kashi and a very, very tiny site in Mathura. Okay? Beyond that, I wake up every morning during Ramadan because at 3 a.m. the hooters go off where I stay. We listen to the azan. Next to each other there is a gurdwara, there is a temple, there is a mosque, and this is true all over the country. So the time perhaps has come to make a statement. Now, what are the options that we in the media have? We in the media have options to set the potential for your imaginative discourse. So let us exercise that opportunity with a lot of gravitas, a lot of purpose, and a lot of sense of righteousness. Over the next 30 days, we are going to rightly be engrossed with a once in 500 years, perhaps once in a millennium event, which is going to be the inauguration of the Ram temple in Ayodhya. A temple of Ram in Ayodhya. Okay? Simultaneously, there now needs to be work on a grand masjid in Ayodhya, for which a committee has already been demarcated, in which people of all faiths, including all of us, should richly participate. The design is something fabulous, and we'll put up some images of the design on your screens, but they need to now get the work started. And in the construction of the Mandir on the actual holy site, which has now been hopefully settled for the next few millennium, and in the construction for the 200 million Muslims of this country, the grand masjid nearby sends out the statement of who we actually are, wish to be, and what we represent for the future history, which we are living as the present, going ahead. So let's put some, as I mentioned, some images on your screen. You've seen the Ajmer Dargah, you've seen the Humayun's tomb, you've seen the Taj, you've seen all these places which are lovingly being refurbished. I mean, the Humayun's tomb is an absolute fabulous place in Delhi right now to go out for, just to experience it, just to feel it. Even if you've gone a dozen times, you want to go again, because it is a living, breathing part of the city, as is Jama Masjid, as is Hazrat Nizamuddin. There are traffic jams every day because of the sheer number of people visiting these places of all faiths, to listen to the music, to enjoy the environs. This is living and breathing syncretic history of India. Joining us now on the broadcast, Athar Hussain. He's Secretary of the India Islamic Cultural Foundation, IICF. Irshad Hussain, who's joining us. He's, amongst other things, member of this body called IMPAR that often sits with us. Joining us shortly also will be Firoz Bakht Ahmed to take this conversation forward. Now, Atharji, let me just begin with the generic conversation. I know, sir, you and I both know that a lot of complicated discourse has surrounded Ayodhya. As we speak, sir, in the national capital, I made references to how Qutub Minar has been redeveloped, how Humayun's tomb has been lovingly cleaned up and refurbished. These are places of importance and visit for all of us. There are no disputes here, there are no consternation here, there's no need for security here. These are places that you and I happily visit regularly. Atharji.
Yes. As far as the initial response, like the introduction you made to this program, to this show, I really appreciate the way you introduced our syncretic culture in a beautiful, I would say it's like a illustration where even I'm not in front of a TV screen, I could really visualize your words. And I really appreciate those words. And I understand the sentiment. I understand the sentiment of this show which you are having. And after 9th November 2019, the historic Honorable Supreme Court judgment, which gave that land which you mentioned in Ayodhya for Ram Temple. And in the simultaneous judgment, they said that 5-acre land be given in Ayodhya and for the mosque. And accordingly, there was a trust made, and this trust was called Indo-Islamic Cultural Foundation. I believe what you have already spoken in a few minutes earlier, it represents that idea of that what Indo-Islamic culture is. When you talk in terms of architecture, there's also a lot of other things like poetry, our contemporary heritage which we are having, and in Awadh where we stay and around, we call this Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. And for that, we have enormous examples from Ras Khan to Rahim, and there's so many. Even the Kabir has been, they have exemplified this very thing which you are talking of, that syncretic culture. And obviously, we look forward that once the Ram Temple, which comes after that Honorable Supreme Court judgment, and this Masjid project, which has a hospital also, an archive to showcase our shared heritage of Hindus and Muslims living together in a mosque, a beautiful mosque, which has been designed and recently redesigned, and a community kitchen to cater to the need of the people around, those who need some good quality, nourished and filled food. So we hopefully will start this project soon. And we wish all the best to all the Indians and the nation that these projects will really make what an India we really aspire for.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So I just wanted to underline, because what happens, and news by function is guilty of it. Nothing happened today is never news. We're always looking for something bad to happen. There was no cyclone, there was no earthquake, is never news. So it's generally a preponderance of unhappy, controversial, troubling things, which is our duty to report. But if you were to draw an assumption, having just felt that, oh, a fight has been going on over Ayodhya for so many decades, ladies and gentlemen, there are countless tens of thousands of mosques, tens of thousands of temples. There are tens and tens of thousands of communities in which they are all coexisting, where there is no argument, no fight, no discussion. And this is sometimes gets lost in the melee of us trying to prove a point of what we are. So now let us have this conversation, because throughout the course of the conversation on the Ram Mandir, we will make an effort here to make sure that the conversation on the reconstruction of the Ayodhya Masjid is also continuing parallelly. Let me get Feroz Bakht Ahmed into this conversation. Feroz ji, the Ayodhya Masjid on a non-disputed piece of land now needs to be constructed. How do we as a country get together to build it? I've seen some very grand designs for it. Now we need to get that going as well.
Gulati, I was listening to my learned panelist earlier who spoke of Ras Khan, Kabir, all that. And this is, the real penchant of our civilization. Uh, as we respect Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the same way we respect and regard Maryada Purushottam Shri Ram. And this is how, and for centuries, for eons, Hindus and Muslims, Sikhs, Christians, all the communities that reside in India, they have been living like sugar and milk. And now, having said that, I have to say my point very quickly because, seeing the urgency and importance of this topic, I agreed to join because I am now on the way to some place. I am on a
Yeah,
metro
yeah.
station.
Make your point,
That,
sir. Make your point. Go ahead.
I am making my point. See, the mosque is being made. Now, this was, in fact, a decision which for me is just like a dream come true because in an eminent English daily of India, the Times of India on June 16, I wrote on the edit page, and it was carried by the editor, that for sorting out this issue, a glorious Ram temple should be should be created. Apart from that, some plot for the mosque should also be given so that the heart feelings of the Muslim community are assuaged. It has come. Now, this mosque which is coming on, I think some Imam of Mecca will come and lay the foundation. A better idea would have been, so far as the temple is concerned, some Muslim and some Hindu scholar or religious leader of importance, along with a Muslim religious leader, should have been present at the foundation or opening or Jeernodhar of Ram temple at the same time. At the same time, so far as the mosque is concerned, since Indian ethos is all, sabka saath, sabka vikas, sabka vishwas, sabka prayas, at the foundation, when the foundation for the mosque is to be laid, some Hindu religious leaders should also be there. I think this is, we have been living together since centuries. Problems are there, rights are there, but despite that, India is a glorious civilization of interfaith concord. And as these words were spoken by my earlier panelists, we have Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, right? This is what we are. No matter which government comes, some people are trying to scare the Muslim community through this government, but in fact, this is not going to be
Okay.
Muslims are not going to face any problem, even if India becomes a Hindu Rashtra, which in other words, it is
Yeah.
Hindu
So okay.
Rashtra
Okay.
does not
I don't want to go
showcase your religion.
into the
Okay,
complexity.
okay.
Yeah. So if we carry on, then we won't know where we end. The premise is very simple. Okay. The premise is there was one very virulently disputed issue. One. There are two others which are equally importantly disputed, not as virulently on the ground, but the court battles are going on. But there are tens of thousands of places, including the Red Fort from where the Prime Minister speaks, Lodi Gardens where we take our evening walks, the Mayus Tomb which has been redeveloped, Taj Mahal which everybody goes to several times in a lifetime. There are so many places all over the country, and let now Ayodhya at the non-disputed site, and look at this image on your screens. This is what that mosque is being designed to look like. Absolutely fabulous. Look at this. It itself is going to be a worthy addition to global Islamic architecture. My gosh, it's absolutely gorgeous, keeping in mind Islamic tenets of design. Beautiful thing is being built, and now the effort of the organizing committee to get it built now needs to be exemplified, needs to be amplified. So this can happen parallelly, and through the course of the conversation, we get an opportunity to continue this. Let me quickly get, if Mohammad Maulana Kausar Hassan can hear me, sir, how do we now get this ball rolling for the construction of the masjid in Ayodhya? कैसे काम शुरू करवाएं सर?
देखिए, ये तो जब माननीय उच्चतम न्यायालय ने इस पर निर्णय दिया था कि वहां पर मंदिर के साथ साथ मस्जिद बनाया जाए, उसके लिए जमीन दी भी गई और अलॉट भी हो गई। आज तक उस पर काम शुरू नहीं हुआ। अभी हमारे संगठन ने इस संदर्भ में कई पत्र भी लिखे। अभी कुछ दिनों पहले भी पत्रकारों से निकला आया था कि इसके संबंध में हमारे पत्र को जो है स्टेट गवर्नमेंट तक भेज दिया गया है। देखिए, हम लोग उस देश के रहने वाले हैं जहां पर मलिक मोहम्मद जायसी ये कह तरफ रोवा तेते विधना के मारक हैं, यानी इस आसमान में जितने तारे हैं और शरीर में जितने रोए हैं, ईश्वर से मिलने के रास्ते भी उतने हैं। तो हम लोग उस संस्कृति के देश में रहने वाले लोग हैं जहां पर सभी के साथ समान रूप से ट्रीटमेंट किया जाता है, और यही वजह है कि हमारे के पाकिस्तान को नहीं चुना था, हमने अपने पड़ोसी हिंदू भाई की आवाज पर इस मुल्क हिंदुस्तान को चुना था। और पिछले 75 सालों में हमारे साथ इंसाफ हुआ, न्याय हुआ। लेकिन जिस तरीके से जिस बाजे और गाजे के साथ मर्यादा पुरुषोत्तम श्री रामचंद्र जी के मंदिर का निर्माण किया जा रहा है, इसी शोर और गाजे बाजे के साथ भी किया जाता तो अंतरराष्ट्रीय स्तर पर एक बहुत बड़ा संदेश जाता। और जैसा कि अभी कुछ दिनों से अमेरिका में ये मैसेज चलाया जाए कि भारत में रिलीजियस आजादी नहीं है, जबकि वो ऐसे लोग हैं।
नहीं, आप बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं। किया जाता तो आप छोड़ दीजिए, अब करना है। सो लेट्स डू इट। नो, लेट दिस बी द ग्रैंड बिल्डिंग ऑफ अ मॉस्क इन इंडिया। दे आर बिल्डिंग अब अगर अबू धाबी में मंदिर बन सकता है, so in modern independent India the design is fabulous. I mean, just look at it. The significance of it would be more apparent to astute scholars than to me, but from just a cursory point of view as a lay observer, just look at it. A beautiful effort at a design has been made. Now we need to raise funds for it. The trust that has already been appointed needs to get going and get the construction started, and that's where we need to be at. Irshad Hussain, now how do we get the ball rolling, sir, to keep our eye on this project and treat it with the gravitas that it deserves?
Thanks, Rishabh, for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure. The way you always begin the argument with the logical and rational approach, it really impresses me. And without being, I would say, ambiguous, I would like to say that it's people like you, I mean, the anchors who will decide the future of this country, future path of this country, whether it's going to be a divisive path or a cohesive path. The kind of introduction or kind of the rationales that the anchors of this news channels, of any news channels will produce, carries a lot, and the people go in that direction. So you started with the syncretic culture, and that's the fact of it. So I'll try not to be repetitive. The main point here is mosque design is there. Hey, you've been showing it, and okay, it's nice. But Rishabh, there is a gap between the lip and the cup. I mean, how to implement it? The huge amount of fund which would be required. Muslims, can they really manage it? 44% Muslims in this country are illiterate. 33% Muslim, I mean, nearly 1/3 of Muslim population is BPL, below poverty line. They just work hard to meet their ends meet. They don't get 2 times, दो जो उनकी रोटी उनको नसीब नहीं होती है. ऐसे
Can we hear him?
Sorry,
okay. Carry on.
Chande ki baat to, I mean, you just can't think that they can really gather and yeah. So the point is, the whole, if for this mosque to be acceptable and it's to be a really historical thing, it has to be accepted by the whole country.
Okay, forgive us, sir. Your network is not the best, and that's causing us a bit of a disruption. And understandably, but I understand the tone and tenor that there's a practicality in getting something done. Now, the practicality of getting something done, and I've just mentioned and repeatedly shown you the Humayun's tomb. So this is not one agency, one body, one individual doing something. So you have various entities, including the Departments of Tourism and Culture and ASI, working with the Aga Khan Trust, who have been part of this refurbishment project in Humayun's tomb, and they've done a good job. It is genuinely a place that I would say one of the best tourist places or places of historical significance in Delhi. The best re-leveled up place is probably the Humayun's tomb right now. So they've done a good job. So it is possible. Funds can be found. You're right. It can't be just found. It has to be found from across the board. Whether it's only simply donatives. Donatives don't only have to be from Muslims. They can be people from all faiths. Certainly there are big countries like the Saudis, like the Emiratis, who are investing heavily in India. I mean, just think about how much sponsorship money Saudi or Aramco has just spent on IPL and the World Cup. So we can look above and beyond, within and without, and get this done. So let us, with that energy and initiative, look about getting it done. Azhar Hussain, how do we get the momentum going for this?
We need funds, and already the delay because of that, because the project is there quite for a long time since it was announced, and hopefully now we have got a redesign of this mosque, and our projects as far as for the hospital and the community kitchen and the archive to showcase our syncretic culture is there. For that we need funds, and I, through the medium of the channel and media, and we appeal that where the contribution should come, and hopefully we get. We already are there in the public domain through our portal, and we are advertising it. We have conducted several meetings. In one of the meetings, which was chaired by our chief trustee, Mr. Zafar Farooqi in Mumbai, huge commitments were made by many people, almost thousands of people were there.
Okay, Azharji, what is the total estimated project? What's the number? I know it's not exact, but what's the working ballpark figure?
The main cost of the project is of the hospital, which we have calculated earlier. It was around 300 crores, a super specialty hospital, and accordingly, a mosque project and other projects, another 50 crore plus. So already this project is to the tune of 350 crores if it completes, and when it will be completed. But right now we are looking like the initial start for the mosque project, amount of minimum, which is in the first phase, amount of rupees 50 crore we look forward.
Okay, so we're not talking about obscene sums of money. We're talking about 50 crore rupees. Okay, so you're talking about $6 or $7 million, which needs to be raised to get the project started, to get it going, to get the construction started, and of course done to a particular quality, that the later on additions that are being made, because it will be an evolving building. Sir has already mentioned the hospital and community kitchen and archive and other things that are being added over there. So it is possible. Irshad Hussain, we are looking at 50 crore. That's a possible sum of money. That certainly, as a collective effort across the country, we can push to create, to generate.
I have a point to make here. I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
See, the point is not the money. The point, you say you name Emiratis and whatever XYZ. I personally feel no one should come from outside. Why? It should be within our country.
Fair enough.
We are 1.2 billion people. Why don't we take 1 rupee each from each person, whoever can afford? That will bring the acceptability for the whole project. That's very important for me. As Honorable Mr. Firoz Bhag said, it has to be like Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. People there in the dais should be present from all the communities. Sar Sanchalak should be there, who's always been really making very good statements, saying that हमें हर मंदिर हमारे मस्जिद में एक निशानी ढूंढने चाहिए. I mean, so he's being so cohesive. So bring the people together and just make an appeal. Every person should donate. Every Indian should donate for this cause. Why we should take from outside?
Done. I agree with the principle and the premise. Is a sound premise. The reason we're having this telecast is so this can be replicated. This will go on YouTube. Hopefully, people will share it, and we create a momentum. It may not have overnight, but it certainly should happen. And let's make it happen. Firozji, we are not talking about obscene sums of money here, but we're just talking about getting momentum built. A lot of momentum has been obviously built for the Ayodhya Ram Mandir. How do we now get momentum built to get this masjid done as well?
All right. If I am audible to you,
yes, you are. Go ahead.
I think, let me say this thing, that this mosque, when it will be created, this will be the crowning glory for India. It will be a symbol of interfaith concord. It will be a symbol of good health, because a hospital is also going to be there for the poor people, and medicines will be available at a very, very genuine and lower cost. Apart from that, it would be, in fact, a place of pride, not only for Muslims, but for all the Indians and people of the world. And finally, let me say it, a couplet. कोई मुश्किल नहीं है हिंदू या मुसलमान होना, हाँ बड़ी बात है इस दौर में इंसान होना. And finally for the other temples and mosques, you have very rightly mentioned, they are also part of the proud history of India. And finally I would say, मंदिर भी ले लो, मस्जिद भी ले लो, इंसान के लफ्जों से मगर अपना खेलो. I think that is over. And now the cases are in the court. I hope with amelioration, with amity, with goodness, everything will be sorted out.
So I fundamentally mentioned that,
like sugar and milk for eons, will keep on doing so.
Yes, so I just fundamentally mentioned that, ladies and gentlemen, the first mosque, the Cheraman Jama Masjid, which was built in Kerala, in Thrissur, 629 AD. So we should definitely redevelop that site as the Humayun's tomb has been redeveloped recently. It should be on our mental anvil. And this mosque, if a grand temple can be built in Abu Dhabi, okay, to represent the syncretic nature of how the world should be progressing, nothing would be more symbolically important than a grand temple being built in the 2020s of modern day, of a grand masjid being built in the 2020s of modern day India, which is representing a different thought process, which is getting past the bitterness of the Aurangzebs and the Ghaznis and the Ghoris, which we haven't been able to get past because we haven't done something to get past them. If you make an effort, is when you will receive the reward of having some tensions eased and a new message of a new India sent out. I'll leave the last quick word with Maulana Kausar Hasan ji. Maulana Kausar Hasan ji, इसमें अब मस्जिद वहाँ पर बनाने के लिए कम्युनिटी किचन, अस्पताल और जो पब्लिक सर्विस यूटिलिटीज़ वहाँ बनाने के लिए जो पैसे जनरेट करने हैं, फंडिंग जनरेट करनी है, इसके लिए मोमेंटम पब्लिसिटी कैसे बनाई जाए? अब
देखिए, ये कोई बड़ी मुश्किल है, जैसे कि अभी इरशाद हुसैन साहब ने या अहमद साहब ने जो बात कही, ये कोई बड़ी कभी मुंह नहीं देखना पड़ेगा. हम एक ऐसा माहौल बनाए, बल्कि हम यहाँ पर तो एक चीज और जोड़ना चाहेंगे, हमारे पास एक बहुत बड़ा मौका है पूरे हिंदुस्तान के लिए कि सारे लोग मिल करके इस दिशा में आगे बढ़े और एक ऐसा माहौल तैयार करें जिससे हिंदू मुस्लिम इत्तेहाद को बढ़ावा मिले, जिससे हमारे मुल्क का जो निजाम है और हमारे मुल्क का जो स्ट्रक्चर मजबूत हो. और ये कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है, अवाम से भी, मुस्लिम अवाम से हो, किसी भी अवाम से अगर हम थोड़ा थोड़ा पैसा भी कलेक्ट करेंगे तो बहुत बड़ी काम होगी और उससे हम बहुत बड़ी, केवल एक ऐसी इमारत नहीं कि जिसमें नमाज पढ़ी जाए, इबादत की जाए, हम एक ऐसी इमारत भी बना सकते हैं जिससे हिंदुस्तान की जो सदियों पुरानी रिवायत है वो उसका मैसेज दे सके, उस रिवायत को बनाए रखने वाली इमारत का मैसेज दे वाली इमारत.
We've been surrounded by negativity and duplicity for so many years. We have an opportunity now to change it, and that has to be spoken aloud and literally written in stone. Let us use this opportunity to write in stone. So I'm going to make two, three recommendations. Number one, for all those who are concerned in listening, India's first masjid, which was built in 629 AD, okay, very near to the time of the founding of Islam by the Prophet, okay, needs to be redeveloped to the standard where it can become an important tourism site for people from all over the world. And this masjid in Ayodhya needs to be built to as wondrous as it is looking in the architectural mock-ups. It's looking absolutely fabulous. If we can create something as fabulous as this, which serves a community purpose, in which people of all faiths have contributed to develop, you'll send a thundering message, and that is important. We are what we believe we are, and we've been duped into thinking we are vicious people who hate each other. No, we are not. India is the world's most populous country. Very shortly, it will become the world's most populous number of Muslims in one sovereign territory. This is what we represent, and it's something phenomenal, and it is a lesson the world will learn. The jihads, the crusades, the world wars, none of them started here. And there is a reason for that which we don't comprehend, and that's the reason for all the world which is racked in conflict from Jerusalem to Ukraine. A lesson for the world from our environs right here in the Indian subcontinent. I thank my guests. We will not stop these conversations over the course of the next 1 month so that there is a parallel momentum building on this as well.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.